What's up, guys? So I'm finally going to talk about the collectors. I was like, well, I'll just do it after Mass Effect 3, but I think talking about the collectors could really give us a little bit of light to something that I think is going to be discussed in Mass Effect 3, and that's the connection that they have with the Protheans. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. Of course, if you haven't played Mass Effect 2, this could already be considered a spoiler, because I'm going to be going into, the collectors and all that, and that's all explained in Mass Effect 2. I will save a little piece that may be considered a spoiler for Mass Effect 3 till the end, so that those of you that don't want spoilers could watch the whole video, and then at the end, if you want to just, click out of the video, then that would be fine. But I will give you a warning ahead of time. I've always found the collectors kind of interesting, but now I realize that I kind of misunderstood them. I misunderstood the connection that they had with the Protheans and the Protheans themselves. I misunderstood that whole connection, and I realized it with Mass Effect 3. That's what I'm going to talk about at the end. The connection that the Protheans have with the collectors, or at least like when it comes to Mass Effect 3. The collectors themselves are a race that of course, was biologically enhanced and were pretty much made with just one purpose, to serve the Reapers. The collectors are found through the Omega-4 relay. That's the only place that they actually originate from, where they live. They do come into the Terminus systems and all that to abduct colonies or to abduct different types of races. Nobody knows why they do these experiments, but it turns out that it's most likely, experiments being done for purposes that benefit the Reapers. The collectors have been known to have requests. They usually trade with like slavers or just people that are willing to trade other living beings to the collectors for advanced technology. These unusual requests and specific requests, like they will ask for 24 left-handed Solarians, or 16 sets of Batarian twins, or a Krogan born of parents from feuding clans, or 24 pure Quarians. These are Quarians that have never left the migrant fleet due to their illnesses. One of their current interests is a healthy human biotic. So they make these really weird requests where you're just like, what? And I mean, with Mass Effect 3 coming, I'm thinking maybe some of these were just to, for studying purposes, like specimens that the Reapers may have needed or something like that. But I mean, maybe this is all kind of the Reapers making their army. I mean, with all the crazy different husks that appear in Mass Effect 3, I mean, maybe they've been making these things for a while now, and maybe that's why they need these specific specimens. I don't know. It's kind of creepy, though, to think about that. The collectors are or at least before they actually, like, made their presence really known, like in Mass Effect 2, they were considered to be a myth or like a legend that nobody really believed in. Some people did, but a lot of people were like, nah, the collectors aren't real, because they never saw them. But that was because they were you had to go through the Omega-4 relay, and that's pretty much impossible if you don't have the Reaper IFF to go through safely. They would make a lot of their dealings on Omega, because I guess that's pretty much where they would find more people willing to trade with them, especially given the requests that they make. A little bit of biology when it comes to the collectors. Of course, the first thing that I have to mention is the collectors, their genetics. Edie in Mass Effect 2 says that she analyzes like a DNA strain of these dead collectors in the collector ship that you enter. And she says that their DNA showed signs of extensive genetic rewrite, including 3 fewer chromosomes and reduced heterochromatin structure and the elimination of superfluous junk sequences. She's pretty much saying that the collectors aren't like a natural race that was brought up by evolution or something. It was created. It went through some extensive genetic rewrite. And she says that these used to be Protheans because the DNA it matches the Prothean DNA. So the thing about the Protheans and which Protheans were the ones that were created or turned into collectors, or what happened there, like where did these collectors come from if the Reapers destroyed all the Protheans, or why didn't the Reapers use the Protheans as like harvesting them, like using them to reproduce? That's one thing that hasn't actually been answered, whether the Protheans were used by the Reapers to reproduce. Edie does say that it's a possibility that the Reapers tried to make like a Prothean Reaper, kind of like they did with the human Reaper, but that it didn't work and they just stopped. But who knows? I mean, maybe they were able to do something, but what is known is that the Prothean race was obliterated. While they were killing the Protheans, they also indoctrinated a lot of them. And in order to, go against their own race, these indoctrinated Protheans, kind of like the Reapers always do, they make Reaper agents. So a lot of them were indoctrinated, and then there was the team of scientists that fled to Ilos, that were in hiding, and the Reapers didn't know about until later. So these scientists, Vigil in Mass Effect 1 mentions that he had to shut down the power in order to save enough energy, and a lot of the Protheans in the pods, in the stasis pods, in the cryogenic stasis pods, began to just die because they didn't have the power to keep them in the stasis. So a lot of them died that way as well. But the main Prothean scientists were able to go into the Citadel and do everything that they needed to do there in order to prevent the Reapers from using the Citadel again. So that team of Protheans that went to the Citadel. The team on Ilos pretty much just died because they didn't have the energy to survive in the pods anymore. But the team that went to the Citadel, they were able to accomplish what they were going to accomplish, but they had no way to get off the Citadel. They couldn't activate the monument relay back to Ilos. It was just a one-way trip. So they got stuck on the Citadel. Vigil says that he thinks that they died. They ran out of food and, they died. But then you have to think, those Protheans that had been indoctrinated, a lot of them did die also, because once the Reapers left, somebody that's indoctrinated, they stay indoctrinated, or they lose their sense of will forever. I mean, it's a kind of a different case if you're a strong-minded person like Shepard, like Saren, like the Elusive Man. Indoctrination works a little bit different. But if not, you pretty much are left as a drone, even if the Reapers leave. And a lot of the Protheans died that way also. They were just left indoctrinated, and they were just like these walking zombies until they finally just died. They couldn't live on. They didn't know how. The collectors were created from these indoctrinated Protheans, from a group of these indoctrinated Protheans, and I don't think there was a lot of them. It had to be a few of them, because Edie says that most of them are clones, most of the collectors. And then aboard the Normandy, Morden also talks more about this, about the indoctrinated Protheans, and how they compensated for their growing lack of ability due to prolonged indoctrination through cybernetic modifications. So these Protheans were the ones that survived as collectors. They were repurposed, and now they have all this cybernetic modification. They no longer have a gender. they've been so modified, they've been so deformed that they no longer have a gender. They don't need genders anymore. Pretty much because they're all clones anyways. They're riddled with cybernetics. They're lacking glands. They don't have a digestive system. And it's theorized that they don't have any form of intelligence or self-awareness, any will of their own. It's just complete indoctrination. Like the other insectoid species, the collectors also have this form of like a hive mind, where there's one, like for the Rachni, it was the Rachni Queen. The Rachni Queen pretty much leads the rest of the Rachni, like, mentally. And with the keepers kind of communicate also mentally. They don't have to be, talking verbally. And with the collectors, it's kind of like it is with the Rachni, where they have like an overseer, that one collector that you see every now and then that comes out in Mass Effect 2, that looks a little bit different from the collectors, the collectors that you see, that you fight. He looks a little bit smaller, and he's always in front of this hologram of Harbinger. That is like the overseer or the collector general. This collector is being possessed directly by a Reaper, and this is Harbinger. And through this collector general, Harbinger could possess any other collector that you may be fighting, because they have like this another type of hive mind as well. And I believe that's one of the reasons why the Reapers really take advantage of these insectoid species, because of that hive mind. I mean, in this case, it's easier for Harbinger to possess any other collector wherever he wants, because of the direct connection that he has with this collector general, and how the collector general has this connection with the other collectors. Once a collector gets possessed by Harbinger, assuming control of that thing. Once a collector becomes a vessel for a Reaper, or for Harbinger in this case, they develop strong biotics, which is another little hint to the Reapers and their interest in biotics, and how everything that is related to the Reapers has something to do with biotics. And I think it's another connection that I always make between the Reapers and Cerberus, how they both have like these very similar goals. I'm kind of trailing off a little bit, but just because of the whole issue with the biotics. The Cerberus is really big on finding human biotics, because it's going to make the humanity stronger biotics. And the Reapers are pretty much searching for the same thing, human biotics. They have this huge interest in human biotics, because they are harvesting humans to reproduce, and they prefer biotics. So it's almost, I've sometimes said that this is the theory, that Cerberus is kind of like the farmer of the human race, the farmer that is kind of making the best crops for the harvest. Kind of like once the Reapers come and harvest, Cerberus has already made humanity almost ready. Like, look at all these biotics that we've got. It's the best harvest right here. So I've always correlated those two. It's kind of like, they're working almost together. But this is just a theory of mine. One of many. I apologize. I hope you guys could hear me well. I'm having, I don't know, I'm having to really strain my voice today. I don't know why. I was really sick, but I'm a lot better now. It's just, I'm having like this to strain my voice for some reason. I guess I'm still kind of getting over it. Let me just talk a little bit about the history of the collectors. Nobody has really been able to investigate or to study the collectors, because they're hardly ever seen outside of the Omega-4 relay. And nobody could actually, or at least before Mass Effect 2, venture into the Omega-4 relay and make it out safely. And some people on Omega think that maybe there's a paradise in the other side of the Omega-4 relay, and that's why nobody ever returns, because they're like, screw that side, this is so awesome. They've got free cable here, and like, oh my god. But of course the most likely reason is because anybody that crosses into collector space, the collectors will annihilate them. And that's why you need that Reaper IFF, so that the collectors, so it's not like you're setting off an alarm once you go through there. So during Mass Effect 2, the collectors come back from the Omega 4 relay, and they start abducting these colonies, and they use these seeker swarms, which are like these bugs that paralyze their victims. And the reason why they were abducting all these humans is because they were making this human Reaper. They were pretty much turning the humans into this genetic sludge and putting it into the Reaper, the human Reaper, which is exactly what the Reapers do when they harvest. That's the way that they reproduce. That's exactly how they were making the human Reaper. That's how the Reapers reproduce. They use the species. So Reapers aren't just mechanical, they're also biological, because they are made out of biological genetic material. And they're encased in a synthetic vessel, so to speak. The collectors were the ones that made the biological weapon on Omega, the virus that was killing all species except for Vorcha and human. They got the Vorcha to release it in Omega so that it could kill everybody except for the Vorcha and the humans, making it easier for the collectors to just come and pick up all the humans. So it was like they were preparing for that. But then Shepard came and ruined everything.